Welcome to the Fun Astrology and Merriman Market Analyst Saturday Financial Podcast. I'm Thomas Miller. Thanks for joining us. This is the free weekly newsletter that is published every weekend on MMAcycles.com by financial analyst and astrologer Ray Merriman, who is writing this week's newsletter. At the same time, he is publishing the 50th edition of the annual Forecast Almanac, which has become a tradition. And if I might just add, to the amazement of that all, he will be 80 in December, not slowing down a bit. This is written for the week beginning September 29th, but as always, we review the week past before looking ahead at the week ahead. Kicking off with a Wall Street Journal article from Tuesday, President Trump suggested Ukraine could win back all of the territory it had lost to Russia in an extraordinary shift. He said, with time, patience, and the financial support of Europe, and in particular NATO, the original borders from where this war started is very much an option. Why not? Russia has been fighting aimlessly for 3.5 years, a war that should have taken a real military power less than a week to win. This is not distinguishing Russia. In fact, it is very much making them look like a paper tiger." End quote. And from Friday's BBC.com, U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a new wave of tariffs, including a 100% levy on branded or patented drug imports beginning October 1st, unless a company is building a factory in the United States. Washington will also impose a 25% import tax on all heavy-duty trucks and 50% levies on kitchen and bathroom cabinets, the president said as he unveiled the industry-focused measures. The announcements come despite calls from U.S. businesses for the White House to not impose further tariffs. Now Ray's comments for the week past. He says last week started out with a bang as several global stock indices rallied to new all-time or multi-year highs. Given that last week also began with a solar eclipse that belongs to a powerful Saros cycle of eclipses, it wasn't surprising to see global equity markets so strong. And with that eclipse in opposition to Saturn and Neptune and in a grand trine to Uranus and Pluto, new highs were even supported by other cosmic factors. However, early last week also witnessed a square between Venus and Uranus, as well as between Mars and Pluto. So, sudden surprise announcements regarding new tariffs by the United States and changing its policy regarding the involvement of the U.S. connected to the war between Russia and Ukraine may have also played roles in the halt to these advances in world equity markets by midweek. In Asia and the Pacific Rim, a new all-time high was recorded in the Japanese Nikkei index on the prior Friday, September 19th. The Nikkei is right back up there in price with the Dow Jones Industrial Average, something we haven't seen in several years. Our 3-star geocosmic critical reversal date was over the weekend of September 19th through 22nd, so that was right on time. September 18th and 19th also marked multi-year highs in China's Shanghai Composite and Hong Kong's Hang Seng indexes. India's Nifty also rallied to a new 3-month high. Australia's ASX, on the other hand, is currently testing its monthly low. Europe was a mixed bag. The Netherlands' AEX rallied to a 3-month high on September 23rd, then pulled back. Zurich SMI, however, fell all week down to a 6-week low as the week ended on September 26th. The German DAX started a rally off a possible primary cycle low of September 17th, but the attempted rally seems to have run out of steam as last week ended. Like the DAX, the London FTSE spent most of last week in a congestion zone that has developed since its all-time high and double top of August 22nd and September 12th. The announcement of Trump's support for Ukraine and NATO against Russian airspace drone violations may have caused renewed fears of war breaking out in the continent, thus causing investors to reconsider their outlooks on the economy and positioning of their portfolios. In the Americas, both Brazil's and the U.S. major stock indices made new all-time highs between September 22nd and 24th. Well within the allowable orb of our 3-star critical reversal date. Could this be the beginning of a new bear market? Anything is possible, but at the moment it looks like a corrective decline as all U.S. indices started to recover on Friday. If they revert back down on Monday, a decline to a half-primary cycle low may be underway, which can be sharp but brief, perhaps lasting 1 to 3 weeks. In other markets, Bitcoin and Ethereum have dropped to new multi-week lows, but Bitcoin still remains above its major cycle trough of September 1st. Gold and silver, on the other hand, continued their torrid rallies. Gold made an all-time high of 38.2460 on Tuesday, September 23rd, another critical reversal date period, a gain of 14% from its low around August 20th. Silver was even more spectacular, rising to a high of $46.94 on Friday, up nearly 28% from its low around August 20th. This is classical end of long-term cycle behavior in metals, where silver outperforms gold as both make new multi-year highs. It is also right in line with our preferred outlook related to Mars entering Scorpio, as given in the September 14th micro-webinar, and in our special update on gold issued on Wednesday, September 24th to all subscribers. If you are a subscriber of any MMA subscription reports and have not received the special update, contact us at once. That, of course, would be through the website MMAcycles.com. And if you would like a copy of that special update, consider signing up for a trial subscription for only $35, which includes that recent report covering other markets as well. Now, the short-term geocosmics and longer-term thoughts. From Friday's NBCnews.com, the White House is raising the stakes of a potential government shutdown by drafting a request for federal agencies to prepare a reduction in force plan in case Congress doesn't pass a spending bill before October 1st, end quote. And from Shogun, James Clavell, back in 1975. By universal custom, your enemy is never more polite than when he is planning or has planned your destruction. Now, Ray's comments. Following last week's convergence of several key geocosmic reversal signatures from September 17th through 24th, the celestial climate quiets down for the next 2 weeks. There will be solar-lunar activity, of course, but most of the world's attention will be reactions, focusing on the events and announcements that just erupted. The one exception may be the shutdown of the United States government, which could take effect next week, on October 1st, Wednesday. This might allow the administration to lay off and even dismiss permanently many government employees that the administration wants out. A shutdown plays into its hands in this instance. President Trump did not let this TUMDI, the Trump-Uranus Market Disruption Indicator, to go without his own unique contributions of unexpected policy changes and surprises. He announced new tariffs that caused the rally in equity markets to pause. He announced new support for Ukraine and NATO in their conflict with Russia, a complete reversal from his previous stand. He took aim at the United Nations in a speech to their General Assembly, whereby he sharply criticized their effectiveness and lack of adherence to their purpose, with a long list of complaints. He rebuked the EU for the refusal of 2 of its members, who he claims continue to buy oil from Russia, thus supporting their own defeat at the hands of Russia. Although the Trump-Uranus Market Disruption Indicator did not seriously disrupt financial markets yet, it did shock the world, and many stock markets did halt their run to new all-time highs last week, which could yet turn into a major market reversal within orb of that powerful critical reversal date. We shall see. Longer term, as I am writing the 2026 annual forecast book, I noticed a hopeful sign for humankind as it spirals into the abyss of the Aries vortex. The apex of this vortex is Saturn conjunct Neptune at 0 degrees Aries. When looking back on the last 140 years of this aspect, I observed that major wars either broke out or were in effect during those times. However, they were all resolved within 1 year of the conjunction, followed by relative peace in the world that lasted for at least the next decade. What does this tell us about today's world and the prospect of a resolution to the great conflicts raging in Europe and the Middle East? The history of this aspect highlights a cycle of major change in the governance of Russia and the rise of restrictions on immigration and immigrants. It coincides with a period of witch hunts and scapegoating, such as the Red Scare of the early 1950s. This is a subject too broad to cover in this column, but one that I delve into in the 2026 Almanac. It's fascinating how it all repeats, or rather rhymes, with the Saturn-Neptune cycle of 2025 and 26. The pendulum is about to reverse its direction in many areas of human activity. And that concludes this week's newsletter, and I have been sleeping in my audio booth now, waiting for the pages of the 2026 forecast book to come in so I can narrate them. We're going to have an audio book again this year, and it is going to be a classic. The Jubilee edition, 50 years. You've got to have that. I mean, come on. And also, early subscriptions to the book are still available on the website at MMAcycles.com. Thanks for stopping by. Have a wonderful weekend. See you back on the Fun Astrology podcast on Monday.